Hi guys, in this video we're going to go over how to find key features of trig equations and graphs. So you should come get this paper from me so that you can take notes that will help you with the examples at the end. Alright, so one thing that I always like to do is draw my parent function. That is a cosine wave because it starts at the top and ends at the top. Sine starts in the middle, goes up and then goes down. All right, the midline is the vertical shift. So normally the middle of the graph is at 0. So I'm going to try to figure out where the middle of the graph is. So this looks like -1, and this looks like -5. So -3 is probably the middle of the graph. So that's my vertical shift. Now 0 is up here, so this means it went down 3. The midline is an equation, so it's y equals, and this would be -3. All right, I can be extra sure that that is the middle by finding the amplitude. The amplitude is like the height. So I can't just count the boxes for this because there's a lot of little boxes on the graph in between. But from -1 to 3 is down 2. 1, 2. So the height of this half is 2. And I'm going to do the same thing down here from -3 to -5. 1, 2. So the fact that that is the same is good. That means that -3 is the middle because it's 2 up to a max and it's 2 down to a minimum. So that amplitude is the 2. All right, now I got to try to figure out whether this looks like sine or cosine. So start on the y-axis. Always start on the y-axis. So see how this is a maximum? That's matching the cosine graph. The cosine graph starts at a maximum, goes down, and then goes back up. So this is a cosine graph. And I can tell because it starts at the top, goes all the way down, and then ends at the top. Knowing what it's supposed to look like will help me figure out the period. This is one wave. That's one full cycle. So from 0 to 2, that's one full wavelength. That is the period. So the period of this graph is 2. All right, in the equation, I have to do a step before I can just plug the number 2 into the equation. And so that is a little formula of 2 pi over the period. So 2 pi over the period, and so 2 pi over 2, that would reduce to just pi. So when I go to build my equation, I'm going to put y equals. In this box, I'm going to put the amplitude. I'm using cosine. There's something supposed to go here in front of the x, and then there's something that's supposed to go at the end. So there's like an A, a B, and a C. So the A is the amplitude. And so our amplitude was 2. The B is this. When you do 2 pi over the period, and I got pi, that's what goes in front of x. 2 pi over b, or 2 pi over the period. All right, and at the end is c, and that's coming from our midline. So that -3 goes at the end. So if I just kind of clean that up, that's what my equation looks like. All right, so let's try the next example. Here's my maximum. Here's my minimum. So this again is just by chance that this happens to be the same. My midline is still at -3 because that's what's halfway in between. So my vertical shift is down 3. My midline is y equals -3. So my amplitude will be the same. My amplitude is 2 because from the middle to the maximum is 2, from the middle to the minimum is 2. All right, I need to figure out what shape this is. So I'm going to start on the y-axis. Now, do you see how that is starting in the middle? It's in the middle, going up, going down, and back to the middle. So this is one full cycle. This is one wave. And the fact that it's in the middle, going up and then going down, tells me that this is going to be sine. All right, so the period is the length of that wave. And so that goes from 0 to 4. That's the wavelength, so that's the period. No, the number 4 does not get plugged into the equation. I have to do 2 pi over 4. So 2 over 4 is 1/2, so that reduces to pi over 2. So when I go to build my equation, it's going to be y equals and do you remember what goes in front? Good, the amplitude. So 2, what's going to go in front of x? Good, the b, pi over 2. Not the 4, but 2 pi over 4. That reduces to pi over 2. And at the end, what am I going to need to put there? Good, -3 for my midline. All right, so when you have an equation, we want to try to guess what the graph is going to look like. We still want to find these key features from the equation. So I think it's easiest to just start at the beginning. So do you remember what the number in front stands for? Good, that's our amplitude. So our amplitude is 3. And the end is easy. What is this -4? Good, the -4 is the midline. And that would mean down 4. And the period, I'm going to have to use my little equation, but in reverse. So 2 pi over the period, or 2 pi over b. Let me switch colors. I didn't mean to pick up a color I already had. So 2 pi over, this is the b. That goes 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over 2 is pi. So that's what my period needs to be, pi. And it says sine. So I'm going to need this to look like start in the middle, go up, go down. That's what a sine graph looks like. All right, so I'm just going to draw a very rough sketch. And actually, that's too far up. So my midline is at -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my midline. My amplitude is 3. So that means up 3. 1, 2, 3. So this is where my maximums will be. And if I go down 3, that's where my minimums are going to be. And my period is pi. So all the way up, all the way down, and on the x-axis here, it would say pi. This would be -4. If I go up 3, that's -1. If I go down 3, that's -7. That's a very rough sketch of what this graph would look like. All right, so let's try the next one. Oh, I forgot to put the equation here. All right, so it's easy to start at the beginning. What would that 2 stand for? Good, the 2 is the amplitude. And the end is easy. Good, that +3 means up 3. And so that's where my midline is at y equals 3. It says cosine, so I want you to think about what the shape should look like. Cosine should be maximum to maximum. And then that's b. I need to do 2 pi over 4. So we can use the calculator for this. The pi's are going to cancel because I'm going to be doing a pi divided by a pi. And I could put a 1 in its place. So if I use the calculator to do 2 divided by parentheses 1 over 4, that's going to equal 8. So that's my period. My period would be 8. So if I draw a very rough sketch of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My midline is at 3, so 1, 2, 3. My amplitude is 2, so that means my maximums are 2 up, my minimums are 2 below. Cosine starts at the top, goes all the way down, back up to the top. And if my period is 8, I would need to see that number on the x-axis was 8. So this is 3, up 2 is 5, down 2 is 1. All right, try the rest.